I declare peace all around, all around. I see peace all around. I see peace in Nigeria. I see peace all around. I see peace.
Pleasure to be with you on today's edition of the program Talk That Talk. My name is Delma Gogwim, and on this program we talk about issues that concerns the society from the youth perspective, and of course the elders of the land, our parents, and everyone around us. But at the end of the day, we hope that there'll be changes that will be made in our society. Today in the studio we have some guests that will be discussing the topic dignified labor. And these ladies and gentlemen will do justice to this topic if you would just stick around with us a little bit longer. We have seated here in the studio this beautiful day, Mrs. Telia Ure. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And we also have a friend of the house. And the reason I'm saying that, you might have watched and seen him on other editions of the program. And we're so glad to have him today, Comrade Haruna Braimo. He is from the Directorate of Democracy Development, United Nations International Peace Commission in Abuja, Maitama. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure.
We also have the founder of Women of Divine Destiny Initiative right here in the studio, Her Excellency Zinaria Nyoma Nkechi Okrocha, PhD. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you very much, Jenny.
And we also have a development expert right here in the studio. We have Mr. Moses Okpara. We're so glad to have you.
My pleasure.
All right, so I mentioned earlier that we'll be discussing on dignified labor. But before we get into the conversation for today, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Back to Talk That Talk. And I'd like to start the talk this day with Comrade Haruna Braimo. So when we talk about dignified labor, what are we referring to?
Dignified labor. On the nutshell, it's any undertaking, any enterprise, any job that you have to do with a sense of contentment, fulfillment, and satisfaction beyond the reward system. You have to first have that sense of fulfillment in your heart, the love for the job you are doing, and having self-worth towards that particular undertaking. And be happy that you are doing it, not necessarily looking at the match with the reward system, not quantifying the monetary or material attachments to the outcome of such efforts.
Okay, Mrs. Ure, if we talk about these labors that give you, satisfaction and beyond monetary support or whatever it is, what are the first five that will come to your mind? First five jobs.
The first five jobs. Well, I think that you have to look at it from different perspectives. All jobs matter, all jobs are important, and all jobs make society function and economies function the way that they need to function. So I think about jobs, I think about teachers, I think about house helps, I think about doctors, I think about business leaders, and I think about the secretary in the office that is making the office function. So all angles of labor are important, all types of jobs are important. And I think that labor itself is dignity. So when you talk about dignified labor, I think it's like saying dignity and dignity, because the fact that you're able to get out, you're able to work, is dignity and dignified on its own.
Okay, the reason why I actually asked, most of the times when you hear the issue of dignity in labor, and you ask people, and I'm so glad that you mentioned some vocations that on a normal day people will hardly even remember when they're talking about dignified labor. And why do you think that sometimes people consider, when we talk about dignified labor, they talk about the bank managers, the doctors, and they don't consider other vocations as?
Well, I think it's just the way that society has nurtured us into thinking. We always tend to forget most of what is the foundation of what makes everything else happen. So, people want to focus more on the things that are flashy, on the things that will bring the most money and things that are most gratifying. So I think that, it's just normal for you to say that people focus on those high profile jobs. But when you're in these discussions and you're looking at, the roots of, all of these things, jobs, dignity, and all of those things, you will focus on what matters. And that's all of the different parts, whether small or big, that keep the labor force going. So, yes.
Mr. Opara, let's look at the importance of dignified labor, the importance of having my own job, doing something. In place of, let me just stay at home. Let me give an instance. A man who wants his wife to just be at home, I don't want her to do any work at all, and all of that. Is there anything that we should look forward to, having my own job? What's the importance of having my own job, something I'm proud of doing?
Thank you very much. Yeah. So for me, listening to my co-panelists, we talk about the dignity that you have in labor. And from what Comrade said, we look at that level of contentment with what you do. And so it's important that we're comfortable in our skin. We're comfortable with what we do. It's like the man that cleans the gutter. Okay? There are stories of people that believed in what they were doing. And the truth is, once you're good at what you do, people will look for you. So you're not looking at the millions that you count immediately, but you're looking at over time, the impact, the change. So it's like when you look at our parents, and this is the analogy I will always draw. I recall that our parents worked in service. They did not build their houses overnight. They worked hard. It took them 10, 15, 20 years to save up and build the houses we lived in. And they were happy. In as much as they were not earning the millions, but there was dignity in what they were doing. So bringing it to the woman that stays at home, I don't know the arrangement she has with her husband, but we need to go back to that point where we need to tell ourselves the truth. You don't marry a woman to disempower her. You marry a woman to empower her. You marry a woman to encourage her to improve the skills that she has. And in doing that, there's dignity even in the little things she does. If it's plaiting hair, there's dignity in it. You make 1,000, you make 2,000. Over time, you'll be happy. I made this money for myself. So it goes back to our mindset, the reorientation we need to give our men, our women. And the importance really is the contentment you get doing that. And you think people are not watching, unconsciously they are watching, and they learn from it. So for me, trying to answer this question of importance, one, you'll be very content with what you do. You're going to be proud of yourself. You'd appreciate the impact you're making in the society, and then there are people that are watching and learning from you. So I think that's also added importance to doing that.
Your Excellency, from the records, you've trained over 5,000 youth in different vocations. What prompted the kind of vocations that you decided to pick and say, let me teach these young people these vocations? I know there's tailoring, fashion design, and all of that. And after that, you gave them startups. What prompted that thought in your heart?
Well, first of all, ability to look at the environment and understand the need that is in the environment, and also looking at the youth, and what they have a kind of love for. Because like what Mr. Moses said, if you don't enjoy or appreciate what you do, you have problem doing what you are doing. But when you love what you do, you discover that you come up with a better result and you do it effortlessly.
Right.
So for those youth out there that by the grace of God only have been able to empower, we try to look at what their area of their choice are, and also we try to look at the need in the environment. So these things put together, we're able to come up with things that we think that can actually help them, and they're happy doing it and they're passionate doing it, and at the end of the day, they'll be able to put food on their table.
Sometimes you find in situations where people would decide to take, I'm talking to Mr. Brimo, you see people decide to take a particular vocation because they can't get what they want at that moment. Does it bring down, the value or the quality of how they should feel about themselves?
It's somehow psychological. At the point for me, whatever you've decided to accept as your vocation or as your job, as an undertaking, first thing that should come to your mind is your self-principle and value. That this is what I'm taking, let me put in my best. Let me be happy for this undertaking. That is what I'm talking of, self-worth. If naturally you are somebody that lacks self-worth, if I like, let me make you a bank manager, you'll still be looking at being the prime minister or the president or whatever. You understand?
Yeah.
That's if you are somebody that has the principle of self-worth, whatever is available for you. I believe most of us here didn't start on this table. We started from somewhere, one way or the other. We have been involved in different undertakings. You understand? But the question is, at those various points of our endeavors, what was our level of self-worth, which directly influenced how we deliver those jobs? We have referees in our resume. You have to, if you call some of them, where I have worked, where I have done this, where I have done that, what is the reference point? What are they going to say about you as far as your job was concerned? You understand?
Yeah.
And you could have, if it's positive, you could have achieved such positivism if you didn't have that self-worth inside of you that will drive the passion, that will prepare you to deliver at your best at everything you do. Like there's this Ekmaster, Ekakam, Religion of Light and Sound of God. One of the Ekmaster Rabatas, he said, be the best of what you do. Let your job be an autograph of the inside of you, even if you have a game plan that you keep secret. Because somebody is going to be looking at you, your job that you have done in years coming, in the form of an autograph. This is what they'll have delivered in this place. Like a landmark. You understand?
That's right.
But did you put your best at that point? And what must have made you to do whatever you do has to come from inside of you. That sense of dignity that you have exemplified, that you have principled inside of you, that has become passion, that you put in your happiness and anything. You might be selling akara. You do it with all sense of dexterity, sense of joy and everything. And before you know, you become a multi-talented person, and a lot of varieties comes to you.
Yes, you want to say something?
I just wanted to speak on what he said.
Yes.
And just give a practical example, because this just happened to me about 2 weeks ago. I was interviewing people to work in my house for house help. And a lady came to the interview, and so I was asking her, tell me a little bit about yourself. And she said, and I asked her, I said, okay, have you worked as a housekeeper before? And she said, no. And I said, okay, interviewing you for a housekeeping job, what have you been doing? She said, oh, I've been working at a company, at a construction company. I was a secretary. So I said, okay, so what happened? She said she was working there for 13 years. And, the company has been having difficulties. So for the past 5 or 6 months, she hasn't been able to get paid. So she decided that she needs to find something else to do. So she's now looking for work as a housekeeper. So I'm just explaining this story to say that it's not even in the beginning of your job search that you'll be finding a job that's different from what you learned or the skills that you built. It could be in the middle of your career. It could be, in the middle, when you're middle-aged, because she's a middle-aged woman, and you have to make certain decisions in the labor market to be able to provide for your family, which she was doing. So here she was, a secretary who's used to doing bank runs, used to receiving guests, is now coming to interview to be a housekeeper. And when I looked at that, I didn't see it as something to look down on. I was proud of her. And I told her, I said, well, I may not hire you to be a housekeeper. Send me your CV, and if I have a job as a secretary opening up in my company or in my friend's company, I can recommend you there. But that's the dignity of labor. Being able to provide for your family, because that's what she was doing. She wasn't taking a step down. She was stepping up. She was taking a dignified stance that she will do whatever it takes to be able to provide. And that shows that she has a strong self-worth, like Haruna was saying. She has strong values, and not only values and principles, she was able to stand up and do what was necessary to provide for herself and her family. So that is something to be proud of. And that was a powerful moment for me, looking at her in that position.
And that's what you've done is really something we commend you for. So from WODDI, we say well done. And you just gave her some kind of hope, knowing that even if I don't get the job, you've given her some kind of strength to keep moving on. It is still talk. And on that note, we'll let you just take a moment and think about what we've discussed so far. We'll take a short break. When we return, we will talk about government policies. Have you seen a youth corps member being paid differently from a different organization to the other? We'll talk about all of that when we come back from this break. Program is Talk That Talk, and we are talking about dignified labor. So before we went on that break, I was saying that we will discuss some government policies. Why? Let's start with the youth corps members, where you find, even though yes, the amount is the same, but you find that some organizations pay more than certain organizations. So you find everybody wanting to work in an oil company, for example. Why are we having that?
So I'm going to draw this analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, in answering that.
Yeah.
When you come to the church, different churches have different dogmas and liturgies. Now, it means that, for example, I'm a Presbyterian. What is obtainable in the Presbyterian church is not what is obtainable in the Catholic church. And that's not what is obtainable in Christ Embassy. In the Presbyterian church, they have what they call the P&P, which guides procedures. I don't know what they call the Catholic Church. I don't know what they call but they are different systems. So you find out that, for example, the youth service scheme, at a point there's a level playing ground, especially when we go to camp. And then when you come out of camp, and they start paying you your monthly allowance is the same skill across. Okay, good. But now, when you go to the different organizations,
Yes.
for example, you might go to the local government system. Local government will tell you that what we have as allowance for coppers is only 5,000 naira.
Yeah.
That's an added allowance to the 30 something thousand
Yes.
that NYC is paying. Now, you might go to an oil servicing company. They'll tell you that what we have is 50,000 there. Now, that oil company has probably arrived at 50,000 naira as the benefit of the person on that level. So they're not paying you the wage, but they're paying you the accruing benefits. Now, if you go to, for example, NNPC, or you go to PPMC and all those companies, what they pay you is allowances. That because you're as a copper, you're expected to be on level 8. So these are about the policies the various organizations have. You go to some NGOs, they pay you 70,000 naira.
Yeah.
It's the allowance of that level where you have come to, because they're not paying you the wage of that level.
Now, talking about the issue of policy, so we have in civil service where the minimum wage is 30,000 naira. Then you have a level 10 on the federal government level being paid differently from a level 10 under the state.
Okay.
Yeah, so where do you think we're getting it wrong?
So now, the salary scale,
Yeah.
it is government's policy. Now, the salary scale of federal civil servants is different from the salary scale of state civil service. Now, the state civil service negotiates with labor and comes up with a scale that they can handle. But federal salary scale is different because federal government sets their scale. So it's just like even in the local government or in the state government, if you're working in education, your salary is less than the salary of the person working in health.
Exactly.
Now, the reason is the allowances. I'm saying this because I used to have that experience. I worked in the local government system. And everybody, the admin people will get 18,000 naira. Then it was the minimum wage.
Yeah.
But you'll find out that those of us in health will get 70,000 naira, 80,000, 60,000 naira. Now, it's because of the health allowances attached to health personnel.
Okay.
Because now, for health personnel, some of us you do overtime, some of you take calls. So that's why you see nurses earn better than their mates in most instances because of the allowances. But you go back and see the basic salary is the same thing. So it's now the allowances, that's where, and those allowances are established by government based on the nature of the work they do.
Do you think it would affect the delivery of other people, maybe the staff in other departments and all of that?
I'll be addressing this holistically, generally.
Yeah.
Let me just clear some things. The national minimum wage, there's no Nigeria public servant that earns 30,000
As minimum wage?
Yeah, as minimum wage, as it is. Yeah, because minimum wage is level 1.
Yeah.
I know Nigerian civil servants earns from level 1, you earn from level 3. 3 and above, even if you are a gate man. So practically this erroneous assumption, minimum wage is 30,000 naira, we use it as a criteria, especially when one will attack government. I'm not voting brief for government anyway. That one is cleared. Secondly, under the national minimum wage arrangements, wages and salaries across the strata of federal, state, and local government are fixed in accordance with the peculiarity and nature along with the sectoral allocations. We have the oil sector, mining sector, the education sector, the health sector. There are some sectors that provide essential services, just like he was trying to explain. So such sectors, they have some critical aspects of work, nature of work, that demand some hazardous allowance and all sorts of allowances that goes with it. And even like this same administration have taken that into cognizance now to include in the teacher arrangement, the education, the teaching.
Yes.
They just passed. I don't know if they started implementing it too. like teachers will consider a lot of allowances because of the nature of their job. So all this comes to play. But the issue goes back. Whatever you are earning, there must be sense of what that you are carrying to deliver on it. I remember in my beginning, I said, not minding the rewards, whether financial or material. That is where the dignity.
Okay, go ahead, man.
Whatever you have been paid.
Yes, because if we're looking at not minding how much you've been paid.
How true then is that analogy of, whether you're not satisfied with what you are being paid?
Yes.
Then the truth is that are you able to give your all, especially looking at our environment?
Because two things.
Not just about whether you're able to give your all.
Yeah.
I think we need to go back to the drawing board, because the challenge we have in this sector is the orientation we have.
Yes. Because if you look at the issue of being satisfied, the children at home don't know if you are satisfied or not. If you have to provide food, you have to buy diapers. And we're looking at, I should be content. Now, looking at that civil service and all of that, we now have people who don't want to do menial jobs. Nobody wants to be a security man anymore. Everybody wants to, work in the system, the government system. And sometimes they go out of their way to even pay money to be able to get the jobs.
But Jerry, if I may just add,
yes.
when you talk about dignified labor,
yes,
it's important for us to know that you don't look down on any. Because everybody is important, and whether it's whether the person is a house help or a carpenter or whatever, these are people that come together to get the labor force. So everyone is important. So when you talk about dignified labor, it's important that we know that you don't look down on any.
And I just want to add to what everybody is saying. I think when you have such a competitive labor market like we have, because there's really a scarcity of jobs across the board. So you may say, okay, some people may not want to be a security guard, but the truth of the matter is a lot of people want to be a security guard because there are just no jobs. So I think the question that we need to ask ourselves is, even when it comes to civil service, is it merit-based? Like you're saying, people are paying for jobs. Are there equal opportunities realistically to be able to get jobs based on merit, competency, skills actually acquired, and not just being able, to pay somebody to be able to get a job? So these are the kinds of things that we need to be thinking about. The truth of the matter is, I don't know what the employment rates here is, but I know it's extremely high. So there's a high competition, and the real question should go beyond just the wages that are being received. Is who's getting access to those very, very critical positions, and how can the system be, structured in a way where we're doing away for paying for jobs when people have invested in education, invested in skills acquisition. You have organizations like WODDI that are investing in building competency of young men and women across Nigeria, and then they are defeated by their inability to pay money in advance to get jobs.
I want to say something.
Yes, I want to say something.
Yeah.
I'm happy with the point you raised, because people have a sense of I don't understand. Trying to get the word. Entitlement. That's part of the problem we have.
Okay.
Now, if, like you've done interviews, you find out that our problem is not that there are no jobs.
Exactly.
Our problem is the people applying for these jobs, are they employable?
That's right.
I'm telling you, if you sit in an interview, you cry for this country. And it goes back to our mindsets. And that's why I like what WODDI is doing, creating this new sense of reasoning and thinking. We need to change our orientation. Some people go to university, and I'm telling you, that people that went to university, they cannot write an essay for you. In this country.
Yes.
And they want to pay to get the job because they feel it's their right. It's an entitlement.
Exactly. It's beyond the now.
And that's why I like this kind of opportunity to talk about it. Because we need to make people start understanding that we need to change the mindset of people.
So if we're looking at it from the like you said, if somebody have gone through school, it means that there are people that have even gone through school that don't really understand what at the end of the day they'll be doing, in the sense that I can actually pay to get the certificate at the end of the day, and I can't deliver. But the thing is, when you find people paying so much money to get a particular job, it means that some jobs are more dignified. How did we get here that we dignify certain vocations, certain jobs more than the others? How did we get here in the first place?
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Madam Pana. You're talking about dignified labor.
Yes.
You know that in talking about this dignified labor,
Yes.
we need to also talk about the route which we get to
Yes.
graduation.
Yes.
Because if you also understand that going to school needs you to be careful and conscious and committed to it, that's the process.
Yes.
Because there's this viral video of a girl that graduated
Yes.
from our beautiful school. I don't want to say what she said in the video.
Yes.
You know,
We can say it so that these children of Alawadas.
you understand?
Yeah.
And so it means there's even a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because imagine how many people she has recruited to that mindset that your money and your money
private
can actually.
parts. Yeah, that's what
So, gentlemen, again, what do we do? How do we correct this?
Yes,
This is,
because yes, in changing the mindset, that's why we need to understand how did we get here thinking like that. Because if we can understand thinking like that, somebody that washes toilets, for example, is being looked at. How did the thoughts?
lack of proper structure, lack of defining our purpose, our mission, our vision, what we want to see at the end of the day. We just open institutions here and there. Like, don't have a mindset of the kind of students you want to produce. So there are lots that we have to look at, and then, like Moses said, we really need to go back to the drawing board and come up with a proper structure to monitor whatever that is being taught.
We need to. There must be a paradigm shift from our too much concentration and emphasis on paper qualifications, paper certification. 80% of the unemployed Nigerians are in the informal sectors. Yeah, the unskilled laborers, the skilled ones that find themselves in that place. Because of the drive for certificates, somebody that does not have business and relationship with polytechnic and university is leaving home and finding his way to that place because he just want to acquire that paper. You need to be able to tell yourself that do I have the intelligence of being a craft person? Are these my skills? Okay, there are people that are in the polytechnic that ought to be in the university and monotechnics. There are people that are in the university that they ought to be in colleges of education because everything was well planned.
Yeah.
But at the point of when the societal values, where our whatever we feel materialism and money now become the order of the day, we are not chasing those sectors what gives us much money, which is now the paper qualification. How do you produce the teacher that is going to teach the students or the people that will have the? Because when you are a teacher, you know right from time that I have the capacity and ability to teach. Then you go to colleges of education. Right now, the federal government has designed a policy to even make it at part that by the BA, bachelors in education, trying to say all the colleges of education should be issuing BSc to encourage them, to make them have that sense of dignity that we are equal to universities.
You're still taking me back to. So how did we get to that point where we have?
Is the point we begin to love our value begin to erode, we begin to pursue materialism and money.
Yeah.
I don't even want to go there.
But can I answer it from another angle?
Okay.
Because while I do agree that there should be dignity in all positions in the labor force, I also don't think there's something wrong with you wanting to excel, wanting to hold higher positions, which will automatically mean more benefits for you and your family. Now the thing is how we go about it. There's systemic failures, and it's not only unique to Nigeria. It's a global thing. So let's just make a comparison to the labor market. For example, in the US, you have a janitor, and a janitor or whatever position beyond a janitor, he goes to work, he's able to own a home after working hard for a few years, he's able to access a credit system where he can own a car. He's able to go through life in that position and be dignified because he makes enough to provide for his family. The reality is just that does not exist in our environment.
Okay, let me hold you there. We'll take a short break.
Okay.
It is still Dignified Labor. We'll be right back.
Looking for a worthy,
spacious,
comfortable,
luxurious
quiet and serene environment
to host your events,
such as
corporate meetings,
seminar,
workshop,
training,
retreat,
worship service,
concert,
drama performance,
auditioning, and so on.
Come to WODDI.
Come to WODDI.
At WODDI,
We give the best for your event,
with our state-of-the-art sound system,
capable of giving you crystal clear, clean sound output.
our professionals at WODDI Media Department will give you a top-notch audio-visual coverage for every important aspect of your event.
We guarantee a 24-hour electric supply,
Water flow,
fully functioning air-conditioned system, neat and clean restroom.
our well-trained, friendly and accommodating staff are always on standby.
Should you need any kind of professional assistance,
WODDI is located within the Tropic Galleria Complex,
beside Grand Square,
Plot 269,
Muhammadu Buhari Way,
Central Business District, Abuja.
Better still, you may Google search WODDI location for easy direction.
Call, SMS or WhatsApp WODDI for your booking and space reservation now.
On 0812442620. WODDI, the nurturer.
Thank you for still being here. We're talking, Talk That Talk is the program, and we are discussing dignified labor. And we've talked a whole lot about the challenges, the problems, how the students are trained from the university or polytechnics. What can we do to get this better? Let's start with you.
Well, I think that it's important for us, like you're saying, from the university level, for us to have university or educational institutions in general have a strong monitoring component of people who are getting degrees in the schools. So one, it starts with, you have to have good teachers, and then you have to have a good system in enrollment and then grading system in place to make sure that all of the people that are going through your institutions come out with the necessary qualifications that make them competitive in the labor market. So when you start from that, you will get the highest quality out of your labor, out of your institutions, and then it will lead to having qualified and competent people that are coming into labor force. That way you do away with the paying for jobs. You wouldn't need to do it. You will be able to compete naturally based on the skills that you have acquired. I think that's the first thing. And then the other thing, like you said, is then when you get out of university, you go through the corps, and I heard somebody say, okay, placement in some places are different. The benefits that you get from another place based on the influence you have or your family has, they may be better placed in the area where they could benefit more. There has to be the same thing, measures in place to ensure that it's merit-based, ensure that equal opportunities exist for people based on the qualifications that you have. And then it just trickles down to the workforce as well. We're building systems that are not based on monetary compensation that you could give whoever is grading your papers or whoever is in the admissions office, and going more towards a system where you as a qualified person can come and get a job, and that exists equally for everybody that is in the labor force. That's what you see in most developed countries, and I think that is why economic growth and development of society as a whole will happen faster, is because you have the right people in right positions doing the right things. Thank you.
Do you think the same school of thought with her?
Yeah, from the secondary and tertiary perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's entering the whole issue from the top.
Yeah.
You understand, which is the end result. But we have to go back to the family. I think I've said it here. In my family, extended family, a cousin said he was going for his HND, Higher National Diploma Program. Haven't had his national diploma. And he wanted to go and purchase an HND form, 50,000 naira. I was home in Edo State. I gave him 50,000 naira. That was last year. And he went to HK. There's something they call HK. These camera people, they know what I'm talking about. Where you warehouse Yahoo boys. You pay as admission fee. He went to use the 50,000 to pay instead of buying HND form, he went to pay to be tutored on how to do whatever, internet fraud and whatever. He will spend 6 months instead of spending another 2 years at the higher institution. You see, we're talking of family.
Yes.
That's directly from my family. I try to complain to the father. He said he don't live there for what they want to become. He has left them for whatever they want to become. I just stopped there.
Yeah.
So that shows that we need to go back to the family. What do you tell your child? You are the first mentor of your child. Every day, what do you re-echo? Even at my age, my parents still re-echo things. At times I call her SLS, she's my mother. I'll tell her some very, very personal thing. We'll sit down, we'll talk about it, and I'll get some senses from it.
Yeah.
So we need to go back to the family values. You are leaving for school, you know that you fail a common entrance as a son or as a daughter, and I go ahead to go and bribe the secondary school to admit my son. I happened to see a result of a young lady, one of these finance school in Abuja here. I said, why did they grade you? People say they don't grade in private school. So if they grade, the parents of those children get angry. And why did you fail my child? Yes, they don't grade any longer. Everybody passes.
No position.
No position. Why in my village in the York, the entire body king, our king will come the day they are calling result. I had the best common entrance in 3 local government put together in the 80s. Yeah, now it's 3 local government. Then it was 1 local government. I had to get scholarship to go to secondary school. I went to missionary school at Ladies of Fatima College. So where we get it from, where we start from there, where the parents, but unfortunately in this generation, I do not have children becoming parents because they even need direction. We are not in directionless.
You are an advocate when it comes to family issues. What's your stand? Do you agree that it has to start from the family?
That's the first place.
Yeah.
That's the very, very first place that all this, will start. And like what Brahma was saying, you see parents that will even are ready to use money to buy their way through for their works. And for me, it's terrible. And what we keep talking about is about values.
Yes.
It's about reorientation. It's about going back to the drawing board. And knowing that at the end of the day, it's also this family that it will also affect. So we need to get it right. And then that what we are talking about in schools, where no more grade. Like you always will ask, how did we get here?
Yes.
How? And one thing that does drop in my spirit is that we love to live a lie. We love to live a lie. Where it doesn't really matter to you, the parents, anymore what is happening with your children. So you just want to, pick, or you said Yahoo or whatever, So we must go back to the drawing board and know that at the end of the day, we are the ones destroying the future of our children.
You wanted to add something, a few seconds, then I get to the
I mean, on the issue of family values, I totally agree that is the core, and that we need a change of mindset and basically a revolution of mindsets, I'll say. But, us as leaders or drivers of this change that we're looking for, we know that it will be difficult to touch every family to make sure that they see things the way that we see them or subscribe to our value system. But that's why you have regulation. That's why you have institutions, schools, educational institutions, government. Those provide the check and balance when family values are not able to live up to the level that you need them to live up to. And I think that's where it's important that the institutions now put that check. The government now puts regulations and monitoring systems in place for you to curb all of those things that will happen at the family level. Exactly.
Okay, so this has been very interesting. There's a song that just keeps resonating in my head. My local language.
You want to sing it?
I'll be so done.
We are so good.
So that song tells us as a young person that going to school is hard, but you need to be committed and patient. He has a clause for whether your parents have money. But that's an afterthought. But the most important thing is that there has to be that patience and commitment to learn. Now, it is closely linked with dignified labor. Because it starts from when the child is small to tell the child that it is step by step. Now, we've said everything. I think the way forward, because family, in fact, one of our challenges in HIV programming is parent-child communication. The mother cannot talk with the child about his or her sexuality, among other things. So you find out that the family is key, government is key, our schools key, civil society key. WODDI has been championing this cause, speaking about reorientation. It's key. It's civil society that can do that. Private sector is important. So I think maybe what would Your Excellency, what you can start looking at is to put together a document about a national confab on reorientation of our value system. Because we need to have value reorientation in this country.
Absolutely.
You know, you need to make the young person understand that you need to set the right goals. Okay? Now, part of our problem, when you have that confab, government will also understand that they need to tighten several laws, especially the one that has enabled the quick rich syndrome, because that's another problem. You know.
Can you wrap up in 30 seconds?
Oh yes, I will. So the Yahoo, the betting system, you know, because
that's another challenge.
Those things have eroded.
Even the betting system ought not to have. If the family value has not.
So way forward, WODDI needs to start a campaign of planning a confab on reorientation in this country. Thank you very much.
And that's what we wrap up today. As our guests were speaking, I was writing out some words. Labor impact. What impact are you making? Do you have principles wherever you are? Are you adding value wherever you are? So 3 things. What impact are you making? What are the principles you've set to succeed? And what value are you adding? That's where we wrap up today on the program Talk That Talk. Thank you so much, Mrs. Celia Ure. We really appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Of course, our very own comrade Haruna Brimo, thank you so much for coming. And always with lots of love to the founder of WODDI, Her Excellency Zinari Anyoma Nkitiracho Okorocha. We appreciate you for coming.
Thank you so much.
And of course, to Mr. Moses Okpara, we appreciate you for coming. And of course, we will not be out of place to say thank you for watching. Please watch us one more time. Next time, we'll be on your way with another interesting topic. My name is Delma Gobe. Thank you.
I see peace all around. I hear peace all around. I prophesy peace all around. I declare peace all around. All around I see peace. All around I see peace. In Nigeria I see peace. All around I see peace. All around I see peace. All around I see peace. In Nigeria I see peace. All around I see peace. Mori Alafia.